He was about to address a crowd and speak his truth. Not just his truth, but his people's truth as well. It was always something that he loved doing, even when his life was on the line and he knew that. What's up, everybody? It's your girl B Octavia, and I am back with another video. Welcome to my channel, and of course, before I say anything else, we are at 10,000 subscribers. Do y'all know how crazy that is? Do y'all know how legit that is? And I'm really still trying to let it sink in. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate it wholeheartedly, but of course, remain humble. I appreciate everybody. So, thank you very, very much. Too many people that think that numbers really equate to greatness when it's really my word being received. That's what feels better than any amount of numbers that I can tell you. Any amount of money cannot amount to the feeling that I have and how happy I am about what I'm doing. With all of that being said, if you are new here, my name is B Octavia. I am from Washington, D.C. And this here is my channel where I talk about street legends. I talk about what we can learn from very important figures of today's time, of yesteryear, in the last how many decades. We go way back, okay? And today we are doing just that, with going back in time and talking about the assassination of Malcolm X and the latest updates that the world, not only the world has gotten, but the family of Malcolm X has gotten this news. They probably got the news before we did. Nonetheless, we're going to talk about the updates. Not so good, you know what I'm saying? So let's get into it right now. Two men convicted of the assassination of Malcolm X are about to be exonerated after serving 55 years in prison. After more than 5 decades in prison, 2 out of 3 men convicted of the slaying of civil rights leader Malcolm X are going through the steps to be released as we speak. Muhammad Aziz and Khalil Islam were both convicted of gunning Malcolm X down in 1965. February 21st, 1965, Malcolm X had a speaking engagement and was set to speak at an event for the Organization of Afro-American Unity. And just as he was about to take the stage, a disturbance broke out in the crowd, and what was probably a diversion of some sort to get the crowd to look at something other than what was about to happen. Just as the diversion went down, in the 400 plus audience, a man appeared in the front of the crowd and suddenly shot Malcolm X once in the chest. The first shot came from a sawed-off shotgun. That one shot was followed by 2 other gentlemen charging the stage, firing semi-automatic handguns directly at Mr. X. Malcolm X had his wife and a few of his children in attendance with him at the time of his assassination. Pictures from that horrible tragedy in all its rawness can be seen to this day with just a simple search. The autopsy of Malcolm X identified 21 gunshots to the chest, some to the left shoulder, and some to his arms and his legs, including 10 buckshot wounds from the first shot from the sawed-off shotgun. Hauntingly, Malcolm X had a conversation with an interviewer just days before his assassination, and he stated that he believed the Nation of Islam was actively trying to kill him. And this interview was February 19th, 1965, As I said before, he had the speaking engagement and was assassinated on February 21st, 1965. 3 men were convicted of Malcolm X's murder and sentenced to life in prison. I'm going to say the names now, but bear with me. These men do have aliases. They have several different names that they go by or went by. So number one, we have Thomas Hagen, also going by the last name Hayer. Number two, we have Norman Butler. And number three, we have Thomas Johnson. All men belong to the Nation of Islam. At trial, Thomas Hagen confessed to the crime, but declined to identify the other suspects. And within the same breath, Thomas Hagen wanted to make sure that the feds knew his stance on it, and he always reiterated that Butler and Johnson were not involved in the crime. But that's not what the feds believe, that's not what the jury believed, that's not what the judicial system as a whole believed. And I'm glad they didn't just take his word for it. I'm glad that Thomas Hagen / Hayer confessed to the crime. And a lot of people think that when a person confesses to a crime, that's like a fall guy. And that may be true, but hey, he got life without the possibility of parole. And honestly, I believe that all of them should have got that. But we're here now, right? Although this crime happened decades ago, his kids were witness to their father's very last moments being alive and well. That gotta do something psychologically to the ones that was there and to the ones that wasn't there. He was about to address a crowd and speak his truth. And not just his truth, but his people's truth as well. It was always something that he loved doing, even when his life was on the line and he knew that. All 3 men, in my opinion, showed no mercy. So why should they be graced with mercy of living the rest of their days out free? Killing such an icon and such a needed figure in the civil rights movement to this day should have you damned for the rest of your life. Cause don't get me wrong, I understand, like, looking at the crime, the initial first shot could have instantly killed him. The other 2 men coming in and letting off shots was just overkill. It was very unnecessary, but within that breath, I just think, you take it too far. He probably would have died anyway from a buckshot up close like that. Don't get me wrong, some people do live through that, but not a lot of people do, okay? That's 10 at one time in around the same place, like, you know what I mean? So I understand why, in some way, in some forms, why it's life without the possibility and then it's life with the possibility for Thomas Hagen. But at the same time, you should be damned for killing such an iconic figure. There is no way that this should be what's happening. I feel the same way about Martin Luther King's killer, and I know that the men that I'm about to mention are not a part of the civil rights movement, but still iconic figures, RFK and JFK, speaking on their killers too. I just don't understand. I don't get it. I don't get why Sirhan should be getting an opportunity to be free. I just don't get it. They were and still are iconic figures that didn't deserve to be annihilated, okay? And all men involved, all men that I just mentioned to you, have been annihilated, assassinated, executed, whatever word that you want to use. To give mercy to killers of such iconic figures, it sets a standard for people who are bold enough to do things like this and have a certain hate for a well-needed iconic figure, and they can just pluck them off and do half of life. Live through that and you'll be able to be free for the rest of your days, even though you've killed somebody that could have saved a lot of lives with their words. That's powerful. It's a lot of people that use their power in very, very negative ways. But for iconic figures that when they speak, the world listens and the mass majority listens, is very powerful. It's very needed. It's also a slap in the face to the family of Malcolm X. The family in total, and especially the family members that was in attendance that day. Mourning isn't easy and grieving isn't easy whether you was there or not. But I can't imagine the pain and fear his family endured as a result of the loss of their father, their husband, their uncle, their son, to be at this point of 50 plus years and they're getting out. My thing is, does the judicial system even care about how this decision is going to affect the family and is going to affect society, but especially the family? Now, whether they care or not, I knew the reaction would be bad with the family, but I did not imagine that they would suffer yet another loss as a result of the news that just came out. Just days, not even a week after the world found out that two of three of Malcolm X's killers were to be released. One of Malcolm X's daughters was found deceased in her New York City apartment. Hauntingly enough, just days before her death, she allegedly exposed the FBI and the NYPD of being responsible for her father's assassination. 56-year-old Miss Shabazz was found by her daughter unresponsive on Monday, November 22nd, around 5 in the afternoon. And I feel like certain theories have been around for decades and decades, and that has been a huge theory that the NYPD and the FBI were in some ways responsible for either Malcolm X's assassination or the cover up of the whole thing. But I think that it's very tragic that Miss Shabazz took her life as a result and reaction of this news, and Lord knows how much she suffered over the years trying to cope with her father's death and trying to move on from the past. But it's easier said than done when it's not a family member. It's easier said than done when it's a person on the outside looking in. But I wouldn't necessarily feel like causing my family any more pain and agony, especially after hearing such bad news. It's like bad news after bad news. And it's something with, a lot of people or some people might be like, oh, maybe the FBI killed her after such and such and such and such, right? The NYPD did say that they feel like no foul play was involved in this, and I do feel like it is a probable suicide, which when it comes to suicide, I really don't know what to say. I don't know how to, I do know how to give advice to those, and hopefully it will stop many people from committing suicide. But within Malcolm X's assassination and some of his children being there, the last thing that I would want to do is have my child find me in the worst way possible. You should never want your children to see you like that and to try and do everything that they think is possible to save you, and you did not want to save yourself. So within that, I'm praying for her children, if it's multiple or just one. I'm praying for their strength through this. I'm praying that, as the generations go, they are a lot mentally stronger because that's how it is supposed to be. You never want tragedy after tragedy after tragedy. And sometimes how people react to the worst news possible can affect thousands and thousands of people, or it can mainly affect the family, the close family members that have tried to give you encouragement along the way, that have tried to protect you from yourself. But overall, I'm praying for every single individual family member of Malcolm X during this time. It doesn't matter how many generations from Malcolm X you are. Like, if you are my age or around my age, it don't matter. You still family to him, and it still affects you. You have a right to take that hard. You know what I'm saying? You have a right to have a reaction, but never hurt yourself. Never hurt yourself. Never feel like you have to hurt yourself to make a point, because that pain falls after you hurt yourself and you're feeling no pain. That pain falls on your family, and it's just thing after thing. And I don't want them to go through anything like this anymore. Even though I don't like this news, even though it's hard to not put your frustration on, like, it's hard for me to hold back my frustration. I'm thinking about the frustration of the family, them being outraged, them being scared. It's not easy, but hopefully as a society we can grow from this, we can learn from it, and protect our leaders, protect those whose words help millions and millions of people. And hopefully we on to better days. I don't wish no good for anybody that killed somebody that we needed and we still need. It's your girl B Octavia, and I will see y'all in my next video.